Welcome to the Difference of 13 podcast, where we make a difference by doing it differently.
Welcome to the Difference of 13. Today we have Chris, our co-host, and I'm Terry, and we have a guest with us today. Would you like to introduce our guest?
I'll try, but I'm sure she can probably do a better job of it than I can. But we're super excited. Sarah's here. She's actually a Cary local, unlike either one of us.
Right.
So
you live in Cary now?
Well, now, but certainly not from here.
Oh.
I'm one of those
Wait,
Yankees.
You're actually from Cary.
I moved here when I was 2.
Okay,
so
well that counts here.
way before either of us. So, but yeah, she's got an awesome Instagram account, Eat and Repeat. We'll make sure that we link that in the bio below. But she by all means is doing things very differently when it comes to nutrition. When I looked at her profile, I was about to go eat some cake because I was hungry.
Yeah.
But after talking to her, it really, I think it was interesting because it definitely piqued my interest in terms of why is a nutritionist posting things about cake? But then it got me to look deeper into kind of what she's doing. And especially after getting to talk to her, I think she's got an awesome message to share. So
it's all the foods I like to eat.
That's the only ones I ever see you eat.
Right?
The whole chicken and broccoli tends to stay on my side of the desk.
Yeah. I have a very different nutrition plan than he does.
Yes.
But yeah, Sarah, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? Kind of, you just graduated and you're about to enter the workforce in a couple days. And,
yeah.
So why don't you tell us a little bit just kind of about your story, how you got interested in nutrition, and we'll kind of go from there.
Okay. So I am now a dietitian. I just took my exam a couple months ago, and I got my undergrad in exercise science at UNC Chapel Hill, and then I got my master's in nutrition at UNC Greensboro. And then I did my dietetic internship and took the exam, and now I'm a dietitian. So I guess I'm trying to think how I got started in nutrition, because I feel like I've always, when I was younger, it's weird, but I liked reading like the diet magazines and stuff. Like when I would see them, they'd be like, oh, see what like Christina Aguilera's eating, see like whatever. Beyonce's on like the water diet. I'm like, so I loved like picking those up and reading them, just like a curiosity type thing. But then I feel like it did kind of turn into an unhealthy obsession. So like starting at 15, I remember like I would go on crazy crash diets. I would just like try out all these diets. I was constantly counting calories. And it was very, I don't know, it was very alone because nobody else like really, I mean, I guess my friends kind of counted calories, and which is also bad because I feel like we fed into each other.
Right.
We'd be like, oh, I only ate a grape for breakfast.
Right.
Like, oh, well, I only ate this for breakfast.
Well, I've only had a grape in the last 3 weeks. You know?
Right.
Yeah. I've known girls like that.
Yeah. So it wasn't healthy at all. And I knew it wasn't healthy, but at the same time, it just kept like cycling and cycling. And I guess like that carried on until college. And actually when I started college, I still did have a genuine interest in nutrition, like as a science and all that type of stuff. But when I started college, I actually started as a statistics major because I took a statistics class in high school, and I was like, oh, this is kind of interesting, and I know it'll make a lot of money. So I was like, let me just, I'm going to start doing.
Not a bad plan.
Yeah. So I started out as a statistics major.
Except that it's statistics. Like,
yeah, but statistics are great.
I hated statistics.
I loved it. I thought it was the best.
No, thank you.
I loved it at first until I started taking the college classes, which were just like next level. And I was like barely passing them. My life was miserable. Like I did not understand it at all. And at the same time that was going on, like my relationship with food had just gotten like so bad. And I was like, I cannot live like this forever. And I basically started going to therapy for it. And at that same time, I decided to switch my major to, I knew I wanted to be a dietitian, because the reason I hadn't pursued it before and decided to do statistics was I was like, how can I help other people if I am in this dark place and can't help myself and figure out my own nutrition? I was like, that's not fair to anybody for me to not be able to help myself, but then be like, oh yes, I'm going to go help you like with your own food. It didn't make sense. But once I started getting better, I was like, no, I'm going to keep working on myself and working on my issues. And then I decided to switch my majors. I didn't have time to get like the classes and stuff since this was like my sophomore year of college. I wouldn't have had time to finish with a nutrition degree. So I just decided to do the exercise one since I was interested in exercise, and then just go to grad school for nutrition and then become a dietitian after all that.
Oh, that's pretty incredible that you had that self-awareness. I figure, what are you, sophomore, 20, 19, 20 years old?
Yeah.
To say that, I am not taking care of myself. And I think there's, unfortunately, a lot of healthcare professionals who, like my favorite's when the fat doctor tells you that you need to lose weight.
Right.
Or the nurse is smoking in the corner and she tells you to stop smoking.
I remember when I was pregnant, and I was very tiny before I got pregnant, so I was not at all concerned about gaining weight. And I would go in, and the nurse, they would, they weigh you every time, and she'd go, gained another 2 pounds this week, and she must have been 70 pounds overweight. And it took everything in me to say, and how many did you gain this week? 'Cause I got an excuse. I'm growing another human being.
But did you find that a lot of your friends, like in high school, who were struggling with that? Because I have two younger sisters, and that's certainly, body image is a big thing. I have a daughter. She's only 2.5. She doesn't have too many body issues right now. So
her body image is fantastic, just the way I am.
She just wants to do everything her brother does.
Right.
But like, how did you? Obviously, it sounded like you kind of your friends kind of fed into it. Did that change as you guys got older and got to college? Are there still some stuck in that? How has that evolved?
I think that when we were younger, like middle school, high school, we were kind of feeding off each other, but we all knew that it wasn't good for us, and we didn't want to always be like dieting or whatever. And I know I had a different set of friends in college, or I still had my high school friends, but we went to different colleges. So my friends in college, actually, we didn't really talk about food as much, and it wasn't really like a big, like, we didn't talk about dieting and things like that. And I remember thinking, just like in general, I was like, I couldn't fathom how people just eat food and didn't think about like calories. I'm just like, how are you just eating this and you're not like thinking about like, because I at that time I could look at a food and be like 337 calories, done, like I don't know, or whatever. But the friends that I did have in high school, I think we all did want to like get better and not focus on it as much. And I actually think that now that I was learning more about nutrition, they would come to me with like questions and wanting to learn more from an educational point, rather than just be like, I saw this crash diet, so I'm just going to try it and do it. Yeah. They'd be like, so what do you think about this? Have you like learned about this? Have you whatever? Right. So I think that they actually like would come to me more in a trying to learn about it because they want to approach things in a healthy way rather than just like I want to lose 10 pounds this week, so let's see what we can do to make that happen.
When I was in high school, some of my friends lived on Tab, which was, I guess, the version of Diet Coke, and cigarettes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I mean, that's all these girls, that's all I ever saw them consume.
Yeah.
I'm one of these, I can eat pretty much whatever I want and not gain weight. And I would be shoveling food down. And yeah, they pretty much hated on me for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the thinking about calories, I never think about calories.
Right.
I never think about, he's always talking about macros and all the, I'm like, it's food. It tastes good. I shall eat it now.
I actually counted macros for a period too. It's weird. I feel like so like after I like saw a therapist and stuff, I started weightlifting after that because for a really long time I had been a runner. And then when I started majoring in exercise science, I had to do anatomy, physiology. We were talking about weightlifting. So I was like, okay, maybe I'll try it. So I just like tried it. And then I feel like automatically like kind of weightlifting and counting macros go hand in hand on like so many like bodybuilding.com and stuff like that. So then I was like, okay, I'm going to try that too. So I tried macros for a while and it actually did help me eat more. And it helped me because I used to be afraid of carbs. So it made me realize that no, like I need like this many carbs a day. So I was counting macros for a while, and it was working fine to help me just eat more because I was definitely under eating before that. But then I got obsessed with like the macros. So I'd be like, oh my God, I ate 40 grams of fat instead of 35, like just little tiny. And I would like go home to visit my mom, and she'd be like cooking something, and I'd freak out because I didn't know like what the macros were and things like that. And then I was like, Sarah, like you thought you were being healthy by counting macros, but now you're afraid to eat things that you don't know the macros of.
You substituted one counting system for the next.
Yeah. It basically.
I think that's an important part too. Is you can. I mean, I think there's definitely value in understanding macros, and particularly at your level as a dietitian now, you're going to be able to substitute kind of on the fly in terms of, this was my goal for the day and whatnot. But I think for the average, young woman out there, or just the average person in general, it's so easy to get caught up in counting calories. All the menus now, they have to put how many calories are up there, and
I'd rather not know.
I went to Kilwins and they started posting them at like the ice cream place. I was like, well, no, why did you do this? It was like a pretzel. It was like 600 calories. I was like,
my ice cream.
Okay.
Yeah. Really, that's all of my calories.
Yeah.
So what, as a dietitian, if you had, somebody come to you and they're struggling with that, because I feel like you go from this, I'm not counting, I'm eating, okay, now I have a problem. So some healthcare professionals probably going to tell me to count calories or macros, whatever it may be, in terms of a strategy to help me to understand what I'm eating. And then the person gets so hyper caught up in that.
Yeah.
What's helped you to be able to kind of live a balance of enjoying eating, but at the same time you're knowledgeable and know what's actually going, what you're intaking?
I think it took me a while to just like not think about the numbers for sure. You can't just like look at something and not know all of a sudden one day. But to basically just stop counting macros, I decided to only track breakfast. So it was like I was being more lenient, but I still needed like some control just because I felt weird just totally dropping the numbers, because it's really hard to like stop it cold turkey. So I was like, okay, you can track breakfast and that's it. So I would track breakfast. And for the other meals, I would kind of just eat what I felt like eating and what seemed like a reasonable portion size. And I would always try to like get a lean protein, some vegetables, and a carb. I don't know if you've seen the My Plate thing.
I've seen that.
Yeah, so I kind of started thinking in that sort of way, where you fill half your plate with fruits and vegetables, and then the other little part with whole grains, and then the other part with lean protein. So I kind of tried to think like that. And then now, I think one day I was just like, Sarah, you're already not counting macros for most of the day, so why don't you just like not count macros?
Just stop.
Actually, you know what it was? I remember what it was. It was summer and I was going on vacation a lot and I was eating out a lot and I wasn't knowing macros of anything. So I was like, why don't you just try to stop cold turkey? If you're like going on vacation so much, like traveling so much, going to mom's house so much and she's cooking, then this would be a great opportunity to just stop, because you couldn't even try to count those macros if you wanted to, because you have no idea.
So the idea of kind of like a My Plate philosophy, or just kind of more thinking, I guess, in more generality, would that seem to be what kind of work for you? Huh?
Yeah. Like, for example, now when I eat breakfast, I try to make sure I have fruit, like a cup of fruit with it. So if I'm eating pancakes, I'll make them like blueberry pancakes and put some other berries on top or something like that. If I'm having oatmeal, I'll try to put fruit on that. I feel like fruits and veggies is always my first goal. Like when my mom's like, okay, we're going to have this for dinner, I'm like, okay, what vegetable are we having with it? So always trying to make sure I get the fruits and vegetables. And then I think after that, I think about protein too, trying to make sure I get like equal amounts of protein in each meal.
Definitely.
And go from there.
So I have to ask, I have your Instagram profile up here, and I mean, I see like 5 things I want for dessert tonight.
Right.
Oh, I love to bake too. I'm also a baker.
So I think you were saying before we started recording that you actually make all of this. So when are you opening your restaurant?
Right.
I really want to have a
orders?
bakery. Dude, I really want to have a bakery one day, but not like a storefront, more like an online.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it'd be too much of a hassle to deal with a physical storefront.
I can talk to you about overhead anytime.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Okay.
Maintaining a space.
But
Yeah.
I think when I look at this, I see all these wonderfully looking dishes that you're putting out there. If somebody looks at like I see some cookies, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this like how do you suggest to somebody who loves my wife absolutely loves chocolate chip cookies. I mean, you love.
I do too. That's why Lauren and I like each other.
If I ever piss Terry off, I just have to bring her a chocolate chip cookie.
Yeah.
So
he brings a lot of cookies now.
But I mean, how do you work that into? We were talking before, but if you have that brownie craving or
right,
how do you handle that?
So I definitely think that all foods fit into a healthy diet, because if you're restricting certain foods, you're just going to end up binging on them later, which is definitely what I used to do. I would just like cut out carbs all day, but then I'd eat like so many carbs at night because my body was craving them. So I honestly feel like if you are having a craving for something, then just go ahead and eat it. Like if you really want a chocolate chip cookie, then just go ahead and eat it, because you'll feel more satisfied than if you had just like held out all week and then decided to just go buy yourself.
For your quote cheat day.
Yeah, that's another thing that I'm not too keen on, like the cheat.
I mean, my strategy has always been, because yes, Chris can tell you I eat lots of things like on your Instagram, but I won't have like a giant slice of cake. Right. I'll have I can have one cookie and I'm good. Yeah. I don't need the whole bag, and I think it's because I don't deprive myself. So when I want a cookie, I have a cookie and I'm okay. Ice cream, I'll have like not even a whole scoop and I'm good.
Right. No, yeah, that definitely makes sense. I definitely have a huge sweet tooth as well. So I eat something sweet every day because I know that that's how I am. And I just eat something sweet every day and it's fine.
So I guess my question is how most people are, probably ask, how do you get rid of the sweets in your diet?
Mm-hmm. Do you need to get rid of the sweets?
Right. Well, I think we've covered that. But for someone like me, how do you get more of the good stuff into the diet? Yeah.
Also with the sweets, there's a lot of, you could cut back on like added sugars in things that are not dessert, if that makes sense. Like you could, instead of buying Fruit Loops as your breakfast cereal, like choose one that has less sugar in it. And just really like reading the total added sugars on labels.
Oh, that's terrifying when you read that.
Right.
Because it's everywhere.
Because that's a way to just cut out sugars or lower the sugars. So that way when you're eating added sugar, it's from ice cream or a cookie or whatever it is.
Make your sugar
should have sugar. Right.
Make your sugar count. If you're going to eat sugar, like
make it count. Yeah. Exactly.
But how do you recommend like getting more good stuff into the diet?
I would say adding fruits and vegetables to things, like finding the fruits and vegetables that you actually do enjoy and just adding them to things. Like if you're cooking a pasta, throw in some broccolis in there, throw in some squash and things like that. Or if you're making pancakes, blueberry pancakes. So I would definitely say adding fruits and vegetables whenever you can and trying new ones. I think it's exciting to try new recipes. Like if you see like a grilled eggplant, you're like, oh, I've never had that before. Like, I wonder what it's like. Let's try it.
So what is, I think we've talked about a positive body image. Like what is, if you had to like define that for the listeners, and like what would you define in your mind is like, what's a positive body image? It sounds like from a positive eating habit or like eating plan, kind of not restricting yourself, but not eating a whole entire cake.
Right.
But, obviously, approaching the day with a mindset of that my plate, or, where you understand kind of the important ones that you got to make sure that you get first. But that if you do want to have a piece of brownie for dessert or something, like don't kill yourself, it's fine. Right. So, taking that in context of what kind of healthy eating, means to you, how would you define what the body image, like what is that?
Yeah. I think it's more about like loving yourself and not being really critical with yourself. Like I remember when I was doing all those crash diets and stuff, I just talked to myself in such a mean way. Like I remember, this is going to seem so silly, but I remember like I would wake up and the first thing I would do, I would look in the mirror and see if my stomach was flat. And if it wasn't, if it was not flat, my whole day was ruined. Literally my whole day was ruined. I was like, why is your stomach not flat? What did you do? What you need to go like not eat for the rest of the day until it's flat. I would just get so down on myself. Or if I ate too much, I'd be like, Sarah, you're such a fat person. Like, why did you do that? So I had to just start talking to myself differently. If I overate, I'd be like, it's okay. You overate and it's fine. Tomorrow is a new day. Like, we're not going to dwell on this. We're not going to do extra exercise. We're just going to sit and move on. So it really, I think for me in developing a positive body image and stuff, I just had to talk to myself differently. Even if it's you literally looking at yourself in the mirror and being like, you're beautiful, or you're smart, your family loves you, you have friends. Kind of like taking away the what you look like aspect of it and focusing on other things, I think also helps. Because if you don't feel that great about how you look, then just don't focus on that for that time. Like, be like, well, you know what? You have some friends, you're kind, you're smart, you're funny, you're whatever. That has nothing to do with your looks. And I think just being more loving to yourself in that way, and just easier on yourself when you do like slip up or...
Well, I think that's where we need to change the conversation, especially with, you meet a little girl, what do you say? Oh, you're so cute. And instead of saying you're so smart, or tell me about the book that you're reading, or tell me about the toy that you have, it's that default of you're so cute.
Yeah.
And that focus on what you look at. And we don't really do that as much with little boys as we do with little girls.
Definitely.
I think I can relate, to what you're discussing. With my heart condition, I think I have always gone to I need to look physically strong. I need to have a six pack. I need to, because that was the way that I dealt with my insecurity of there's something wrong with me. Like I need to look stronger on the outside. And, so I can totally relate to, oh my God, I just binged it. Okay, extra round of intervals tomorrow, or but looking at it, for me, what's helped is looking at it more of a long game of like, hey, you eat really well and you take care of yourself 98% of the time. And if it's somebody's birthday and you want to have cake, like, that's fine. You want to have a second piece of cake? Go for it. Because 98% of the time you're eating really, really good and taking care of yourself. And I think it's funny, the more I've learned about the body and the science of it, it's the more and more stressed you get about how you look, the more cortisol levels go up, and then the more bloated you look. And then it's like this nasty cycle of, so when you actually start to talk about the science of it, it makes a heck of a lot of sense why one day you wake up and it's like, wow, I look really good. And you did nothing wrong that day, but the next day you don't look so good.
Yeah.
And I think that's an important thing that it's tough to, I think, explain, especially to younger kids, is like, particularly for women, like, hey, depending where you are in your cycle, you're gonna, your body's gonna look a hell of a lot different depending where you are in that.
Yeah.
And I think that can be, and particularly, when you are looking a little more bloated, you need more fats, you need healthy fats. That's actually, from where you are from a menstruation standpoint, your diet should actually change to support that. And you could probably speak to that way more than I can, but I think that is a tough conversation that a lot of people are not having. And, I'm very sensitive to that with my daughter. It's not just, hey, cutie, hey, it's, my saying with her is, I ask her, I say, what are you? She goes, she's 2.5. She's got a little lisp right now. But I'm big, I'm strong, and I'm beautiful.
Nice.
But it's not just that, she's smart, she's intelligent. Right. It's, and I've even seen it with her where, like, my son who's older will say, oh, you can't do this, you're little. And so she starts saying, oh, I'm too little, I'm too small. And it's like, no, that's where the whole big, strong, beautiful thing, you can do anything you want. But I think I totally agree with you that, changing that conversation from the cute, or that the body image is way more than that. And when it comes to diet, if you do have a cookie, you're not a terrible person. You didn't fail.
Right, exactly.
I love what you said. It's just, well, tomorrow's another day.
Right.
Yeah.
And really kind of
I had the opposite experience. I was always very tiny and underweight and it's just fast metabolism, small body structure. And I wanted to look like a grown-up woman and not a child. When you're getting married and you weigh 82 pounds and you go to the bridal shop and they're like, we could put you in a junior bridesmaid's dress. Yeah, that's just not. Yeah. So I always tried to eat more in the hopes that I would get those curves. And I'm still waiting for it to happen. I think that boat has sailed for me. So, but it was still kind of that weird, not happy with what you have. And I kind of got over it at some point. But, I figured there's not a whole lot I can do about it.
Yeah, but I agree. Like everyone always assumes it's the heavy people who have like body image issues, but like anyone can have body image issues. So it's like, why don't we just not talk about our bodies? Like,
right?
That's not the main reason. Like when you choose your friends, you're like, oh, she's skinny enough. Let's be friends. Like,
no, I'm sorry, you're 2 pounds overweight. Therefore, we cannot associate with you.
Right.
Well, one thing that it's a whole new territory for me because I'm a much older generation. So this whole Instagram, social media, you look at all of these pictures of everybody who looks incredible. And how do you walk away from that not feeling bad about yourself? Because, of course, we all know that the pictures are staged and you learn how to pose a certain way to hide that tummy or to do whatever. But that message is still there, and I think particularly for young girls looking at that. So how do you handle that part of the conversation?
I will say I had to unfollow everybody who was a bikini competitor because I was following them for a while just for like workouts and whatever, but I noticed it was getting to me. It really was getting to me. I was like, I go to the gym. Why don't I look like that? And I was like, Sarah, because you're not like prepping for a bikini competition. And even bikini competitors don't look like that all year unless they're like 3 weeks out from their show or whatever. Right. But it was really messing with like how I viewed myself. I was like, you go to the gym, you eat all right. Like, why don't you look like that? So I really just had to unfollow them all.
I think that's huge for boys too, though. You see these guys that are just ripped and jacked. I mean, they're literally about ready to go into they're so dehydrated. They're so like just drained. And if you ask one of those guys, how do you feel in that picture? They'd probably feel like absolute crap.
Yeah.
I think it's hard to sometimes separate that person does not live like that.
Right. You're not getting the full picture. You're getting like that 10 seconds when they were sucking in really hard and probably didn't eat yet.
They passed out from oxygen deprivation. They were sucking in their stomach so hard.
Yeah. So just remembering that that's not what they look like all the time.
But do you worry that young girls might be looking at your feed and having those thoughts? Because your pictures, you look really really slim and trim and all those good things. And, you know,
I think I try to, like more promote or talk about my thoughts. Like I try to be as genuine, and real with my followers as I can. I just be like, hey guys, like I'm really struggling today, or like it just really talking about my thought process. And I do talk about like, everything I've been through in my past and bring light onto how that's not really important anymore. I'm like, yeah, I might have been 10 pounds lighter, but I was also running 6 miles a day and not eating enough. But today I weigh more, but I can go out with friends and eat a cheeseburger and I won't like be mentally affected by it and thinking about it a week later. Like
holistically, health wise, much better place now than I think that's important to talk about. And I wish more people who are posting those pictures. Even I go back to everyone talks about the girls, but it happens to the guys too.
Right.
Just saying that, hey, look, saying like I felt absolutely terrible in that picture. So I think that's awesome that you're being real with your followers and talking about that other side of it. That like, hey, I look great in this picture, but let me tell you the whole story around that. And
right.
I think that's awesome. So.
And I also like to show them that I am a real person and I'm not healthy all the time, or like I don't eat veggies for every meal and things like that.
You're not a rabbit.
Yeah.
Right. Like I remember my roommate said one of her favorite captions I posted, we went on a trip that weekend, and then I posted like a selfie from that night, and then the caption was something like, oh, I woke up this morning and I'm hungoverly eating my McDonald's like in the car or something. I was just like being real with what was happening. I was like, I'm still very drunk and I'm eating this McDonald's right now. And she was like, that was my favorite caption of yours because it showed that you're not like working out or like whatever, that you're a real person.
Yeah, I think that's so important. I think in the social media world that we live in these days, it's the more people like you that are actually sharing the entire story, and the 360-degree view of it is just so important. And I think that's one of the reasons why we're excited to have you on the show, is you are doing it a bit differently. And and we talk a bunch of different facets: health, fitness, business. Right. And so I think it's cool to have somebody, particularly as young as you are, just challenging that status quo on Instagram and saying, hey, look, guys, yes, I look good, but this cake is really good.
Yeah,
exactly.
And I got to taste that too.
Right, exactly.
So we really appreciate you coming on the show today. Is there anything kind of final tips or suggestions or a message that you'd like to leave with your followers, our listeners? Hopefully some of both.
Yeah.
What would be some like parting words of wisdom now that you are an official dietitian?
Right.
Going forward.
I guess just that health looks different on everyone, and health doesn't have to be going to the gym every day and eating perfectly at every meal. That you really can make it what is best for you, and don't beat yourself up if you're not trying to be like the picturesque going to the gym every day and eating perfect every day. It's okay to not be like that, and you'll still be healthy. And it's more important to love yourself rather than go for aesthetic goals and try to be this perfect picture of health. It's better to just love yourself and be able to enjoy those moments with friends and family, rather than missing out on them because you don't want to eat a birthday cake or whatever.
Right. I think that's awesome. So thanks so much, Sarah. And you guys, everybody, you can find her at Eat and Repeat on Instagram. And we'll put all the links to all her profiles and wonderful foods that hopefully she'll be mailing to us one day.
Right?
Yes.
Thanks again, Sarah. We're so excited to have had you, and we wish you the best of luck going forward.
Thank you.
Thanks.